gene snatching, delicious moments, and misdirects, all in today's episode. Hey, I'm Chris, and I'm reviewing every episode of The Office ever, and today we're looking at Free Family Portrait Studio.
Oh my God.
Probably.
Written and directed by BJ Novak, which I didn't really know going into this, but it completely checks out. We have a lot to get to, including a special guest, a deeper meaning that I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like it really is true. And we're going to rate this one. So let's go.
I understand nothing.
This episode kicks off with Oscar starting a vlog targeting the internet's most profitable demographic, the young gays.
I'm gay, and I'm here to tell you that yes, it does get better.
But it quickly goes downhill as recording information about emotional topics within your public workspace is not a good idea.
It's a simple...
I'm sorry. I just can't sit idly by.
And getting interrupted while you're recording is the worst. Hello? Can it wait? I mean, I was doing something. Okay, let me see if I can do something. Okay, I have to take care of something real quick. Let me see if I can get someone else to do this part for me.
Hey there, young gays. If you don't know, I often explain entire film series in an extremely succinct and rigorously accurate style over on my own channel, Dr. Jordan Breeding, and Chris thought it'd be valuable to apply my unique brand of journalistic integrity to the 176th episode of The Office.
Oh, how the mediocre have fallen.
Seems a little odd considering I haven't watched the preceding 175 episodes in over a decade, and because I also have 3 children with my hopefully straight wife, but at the same time, I do know a lot about webcams and the youth.
He's searching out younger gays.
And speaking of gays and webcams and adolescents, here's Oscar explaining to young gays via webcam that being young and gay might suck now, no pun intended,
No matter how hard it gets,
but it gets better, probably. Of course, Robert California disagrees so hard that he breaks Kevin's nose in a broad-ranging sexual rage.
I'm sorry. I just can't. It's a paradox to think of any sexual activity as normal.
We have to evolve. There's no room for
prudes, only sluts.
That guy? He looks just like you.
Regardless, it's unclear which part of being young and gay Oscar believes improves with time. I mean, at the time he filmed this, Oscar was 54 years old and basically a dead person. Name one happy person older than 40. I'll wait.
I was going to put him...
Exactly. I'll also wait for you to name one thing better than muffins.
What's even more precious to people than muffins? Children.
When they see, they'll understand.
Got me there. I have 3 thanks to some very straight sex with my probably straight wife after eating several blueberry muffins, which are definitely worse than children in a 1-to-1 comparison of value, but way better than children for eating.
But are you 100% sure? I don't think any of us are.
I officially endorse not eating your children, though I've been told that my opinions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this channel.
I have a delicious secret.
So... anyway, Dwight has arranged free family portraits for the staff, and Jim is worried that this is somehow revenge for the light sex crime that he pulled on Dwight a few weeks ago.
You can film the rest.
Yeah. But Pam is like, surely Dwight wouldn't hurt children. He loves them even more than muffins. But Jim is unsure.
Damn it, Jim! I think it's fair to be cautious.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Almost as unsure as Daryl is of this coconut and penis-flavored drink marketed to Asian homosexuals that, unfortunately, none of the viewers of this stream will be able to purchase as it's been discontinued and also is a fake product.
I don't always drink,
An energy drink for Asian homosexuals.
but when I do, I prefer coconut.
Penis.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
The coconut is pretty subtle.
The only way to get coconut-infused penis drink is from the manufacturer directly. Robert knows what I'm talking about.
Why'd they add coconut? I miss original.
But Jim needn't have worried because Dwight's actual plan is to steal Angela's baby's DNA so he can do a paternity test and determine if he's the actual father instead of her senator lover husband.
No, thank you.
Most of Dwight's attempts fail until he absconds with the baby's stuffed diaper.
Is this what you were looking for?
Angela gives literal car chase, but it's all for naught as she arrives at the lab too late to stop the testing. And fun fact, I did not know that you could DNA test poop, but apparently you can.
You got turd?
Yeah, you got a turd.
I'll take a look at it.
How long does it take to get the results?
72 hours.
This is wolf hair?
Good thing I already only poop in the shower, which drains into a locked safe underneath my house. You can never be too careful these days.
Pull the poop out of the toilets.
Not even a thing.
Oh look, here's Andy looking janitorial and sad.
Yeah.
And I guess at some point he was fired or let go or something because he's begging a British lady who is evidently the current boss for a job.
Good, good. This carpet's overdue for a good mopping.
She says he can clean the carpets for today, which he does, poorly. Because his heart's not really in the work, it's in delicious revenge.
I am faking this.
In a presumably earlier episode, Andy convinced David Wallace to purchase Dunder Mifflin from its current parent company, Sabre, and reinstate Andy.
As manager?
That is very similar to a fantasy I have. Maybe someday.
No.
What?
But anyway, this transition isn't announced yet, so Andy's plan is to lay miserable around the office all day, getting accused by his girlfriend of physical and verbal abuse.
You hit her? What?
No.
And also spilling shitty soup on himself.
It's really good.
In the hopes that it'll make the eventual reveal that he's the new manager that much more climactic. A rags to paper sort of story. Like money paper and Dunder paper. Wow. Aren't you guys glad I showed up in the middle of this video to talk to you?
No.
Nope.
But it's free.
But of course, David Wallace gets caught in traffic, forcing Andy to make like a guy wearing a trench coat on the subway and self-reveal, but nobody believes him.
Do you see David Wallace in the room right now?
But then David does show up and confirms Andy's ramblings, but it's still not as delicious or goodwill hunting as he wanted.
But I do have a very tasty
Penis.
And he even rehires his replacement manager after she Shakespeare's at him too hard.
Oh, Hamlet, 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 Hamlet. The vampire army has taken the city.
Do not bring Shakespeare into this.
Robert California, also now fired, convinces David Wallace to pay him to tutor uneducated underage Eastern European gymnasts, which is quite the nonsensical joke.
You're going to seek out uneducated gymnasts.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to identify some truly exceptional.
I guess they needed some way to blast this penis-chugging pansexual off into the erotic sunset, but I'm unsure why David Wallace would agree to put up $1 million to support this venture after literally just like one 20-minute meeting. I guess it's because comedy pushes boundaries. It triggers.
I had no idea how pervasive this problem was.
And speaking of things that might not make me feel the way the show wants me to feel, Dwight and Angela start hooking up in the lab.
Dwight, I can't do this, Dwight!
But it's fine, because the senator is gay and hits on old gay Oscar.
You know what this is about.
Affairs are fine if they're mutual. Marriage is a construct. Love is a lie. Let your heart follow your wandering crotch. Nothing matters. Goodbye, Season 8. Consider yourself explained.
Jordan has an incredible and beautiful mind, and we must protect him at all cost, fart and dick jokes included. Go subscribe to his channel, watch all of his stuff, and, join his Patreon. And mine, too, while you're at it. I need to pay my editor, too. So there you go, YouTube. Stop telling me to collaborate with people every single time I sign into your platform. And there you go, fans of my channel. Let me know if you want me to include more collabs like this in the future. But in fairness, Jordan did miss an entire plot line, but we're going to get to that and more in the deeper meaning.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Cap.
For a lot of Novak's writing in The Office, he likes to take a twist on certain taboo topics like racism or sexual ethics in the workplace. But for Free Family Portrait Studio, it feels like a departure from his earlier style, and it feels distinctly off. Intentionally off. Stay with me though, I'm not criticizing, just analyzing. Every plotline in this episode, as Jordan alluded, has either its own beyond belief moment or its conclusion is scuzzy. Take, for example, Dwight is transporting literal to get to the bottom of this season-spanning hunch that
baby is a shroot.
the conclusion to that story is an awkward makeout session in a DNA lab. Not just because Angela's married.
Oh, yeah.
But like the angles are not really conducive for necking. Interesting thing Jordan hit on, though, when he said that he didn't feel the way he thinks the show wanted to make him feel. But I'd suggest that this discomfort is intentional. Their resolution feels like this ounce of hope, like we care for these characters and we kind of want them to make it together. But when like is the literal MacGuffin of their storyline, the meaning gets a little bit complicated and nuanced. Or think about the plot that Jordan didn't touch on.
Coconut penis. A coconut is pretty subtle.
Which follows Daryl, a now manager in the office, outright hitting on his employee and maybe jump-starting an off-screen breakup.
Sounds like you're trying to hit on my girlfriend.
Hey, calm down, he's not.
Yes, I am.
So you really think she's gonna leave a guy who owns his own restaurant for a dude who ate his own restaurant?
Brandon.
Which is already uncomfortable and problematic, but it concludes with Daryl and his daughter taking free family portraits. Keyword is family in this one. And you have to think about it from Jada's perspective. They're just taking some family pictures, then this random lady from the warehouse shows up and joins their photo shoot, and she's now holding hands with her dad. This is not played like a joke, but it's also not played for cringe. It seems to be played as a positive resolution to this storyline, but it distinctly feels off. Co-parenting is hard enough, you know? It's like, it just feels weird and off. This tone is also the case for the cold opening, when Oscar's trying to make the young gays feel better about life, and Robert California shoves him aside. With that set up, I would think Robert is going to say something that is cancel-worthy. But, what he says is fine?
It's a paradox to think of any sexual activity as normal.
Well, the message is fine, but the point is that everything is messy.
Oh, come on, Andy.
And the chaos that's surrounding him in that situation all goes to serve this motif of messiness. And speaking of Robert, his departure from the series hidden under
Bob Kazamakis
is a great bit. It's a fantastic line. It's shocking and it's pretty fun. But it also forces the question, is Robert who he says he is? Is he lying to David Wallace, or has he been lying to us? It's as unclean and messy as a sleazy plan that Wallace gives him $1 million for.
You're going to seek out uneducated gender.
Yes. Robert's scene should leave us delighted to see the good guys prevail. But it instead is messy and unclean. Even Wallace has a furrowed brow the longer Robert California talks, making me wonder if he's wondering if this whole thing was a mistake. And for a character as important as Robert California, well, his goodbye seems very anticlimactic, unceremonious, and unsatisfactory. This quality of off is even more seen in Andy's arc, which is the A-plot of the episode. He has a vision for what he expects this day to be like.
I have a delicious secret.
I convinced David Wallace to reinstate me as manager. A delicious moment.
But he ends up taking it too far, getting himself messier and messier as the day goes on.
But it's really good.
Oh, come on, Andy.
Too far! God!
And he keeps making it about himself, ensuring that it'll be hard to root for the guy, for the audience, and for the people in the office. He's built this show of this whole thing up in his mind to the point that no one cares anymore what's happening. And all he has left is to just go with the flow. Even when he would be rightfully within his responsibilities to send Nellie packing, he gives her a job.
Special projects manager, that's my background. I just go around doing whatever I want.
All right, you sly bastard.
She has been the literal devil to Andy in this latter half of the season, and he can't even have this moment. She takes it from him and he just complies.
I just want one mother delicious moment.
And this leaves the audience feeling kind of blah about the whole resolution here. There's even a cut plot line in the episode in which Robert California, before taking off, suggests that Jim and Pam should open up their bedroom to his distinct lovin'.
What would we have been doing exactly?
Three-way.
Which was surely the easiest plot line to cut for network television, but the theme of taking things that we love and scuzzing them up a bit is consistent across the board in Free Family Portrait Studio.
Why'd they add coconut? I miss original.
I'd like to remind you and myself, this is not the ratings. This is the deeper meaning. I'm not commenting on the quality of the final product. More that I spent this time wondering why this episode seems to be purposefully invoking unnecessary cringe in the resolutions that we would generally come to expect being rewarded for sticking through.
Oh my God! Yes!
You know what? I just realized the fact that it's a family portrait studio and those things are awful. Like, is there ever a time when you have to line up and take a photo for something and it's not the worst? It's always like what is immortalized is the smiles and the closeness, but the reality is under the scene it was a nightmare just to get to that point. I'll admit, this may be a reach, and BJ Novak, if you're watching, let's talk. He's not watching. I think that a lot of the comedy and the story points in this episode, while they do set some hooks for next season and conclude some of the arcs for season 8, are really a reflection of Novak's current state of mind within the bounds of The Office. He was an OG. He was there from the beginning, rounding out 8 seasons of television on a show that became one of the biggest comedies of its time, and BJ was a big deal both on screen and behind the scenes. This is a lot of work, it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of expectations. So it's not a far cry to suggest that the characters in the series that he once loved had been bastardized by other people. Something that numerous folks associated with the series have weighed in on regarding The Office's 9-season run. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but the crash course is, as the showrunners and writers' room evolved, so did the series that Novak helped build. And as much as those original writers would sit and argue with the new voices, saying, no, we can't be too zany.
Too far! God!
We have to keep The Office grounded.
Save Bandit!
We can't forget the soul of the show, that this is a show about people working at a paper company. From my very limited perspective, it seems that everything was a battle, a struggle to calibrate. And as other voices won out time and time again, making a spectacle of this once very subtle series, ratings and critical reception began to plummet. Which brings us to the fact that this episode is the last episode that Novak worked on for the series. On a podcast back in 2019, Novak said, I was burnt out. Mindy had left, Carell had left, and they wanted a new showrunner, and they asked if I would want to do that, and I couldn't imagine it. I also couldn't imagine just hanging around without it, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have the love. So I think of this episode as Novak's reflection back on the series. It's written with his typical wit and humor.
He's not hitting me, but he's been verbally abusing me. And
That's not true either. That's also total.
But maybe it's more than that. As in, maybe there's a parallel between Andy's story and BJ, in the sense that Novak thought that the series would eventually find its footing once again, and he'd get that delicious moment, that return to The Office prominence in the mind of fans and critics alike. And maybe at some point, he would be running the show. Instead, the series made misstep after misstep, garnering a lot of criticism and casual hatred from once diehard Office fans.
Diehard.
From Novak's perspective, it was not the fans who were wrong. It was The Office's writers and showrunners' own decisions which caused it to look foolish to the masses. That a focus on the spectacle over the substance caused the show to flounder. And maybe he came to that realization that even if he were to take that showrunner position, it just wouldn't be sweet. It would be empty and it would be hollow. And I think Novak's cynicism about how the show and how life turned out couldn't help but pour onto the page and infected every single story point with resolutions. And so much of this is like metaphorically how he was feeling about The Office. It's a quiet and depressing goodbye to the series that he once loved. A reminder to all of us that substance is always more important than spectacle. And sometimes you just gotta know when to fold them.
You got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the deal is done.
I don't know if I'm right, but BJ, if you're watching us, let's get in contact. Maybe not after I rate this. You might not want to talk to me. Let's rate this thing.
This is the worst.
I'll be done on this episode soon, but we need to talk about one more first.
Is this what you were looking for?
Something incredibly important for the series did not make it to screen in this episode, and it happens around here.
Did somebody make a boopsie?
No! Dwight! Give me the diaper!
Now, spoiler to anyone who hasn't watched the next season of The Office, which, like, are people doing that? Are people watching this? Anyway, but this becomes a big deal for the rest of the series, with us finding out soon.
You're not the father.
I told you.
Only to learn later.
Philip's your son.
Well, according to David Rogers, this really wasn't a retcon in the penultimate episode for the series. It was always the plan. But there was a plan shot in the Free Family Portrait Studio episode to give fans a nod that maybe Dwight grabbed the wrong diaper, making the reveal in the final episodes not feel so out of left field. Now, I can't find any material existence of this scene ever existing, so I guess we'll keep waiting for the Season 8 Superfan episodes. Other than that and the scuzzy things I talked about for 10 minutes, there's some good things to like in this episode. Like, Andy's suit is nice. Jim's prank on Dwight is delightful.
You can fill in the rest.
Is it canon that Dwight always wears green underwear? Mechanic?
Yeah. Cover me!
Excuse me, Mr. Dwight, who are you talking to?
I love how the office staff rallies to protect Aaron.
He's been a nightmare. And the worst part is he's been taking it out on me.
You hit her? What?
No.
Oh, and cold opening. I kind of blew right past that to talk about poop. But everyone is way too close to my television when I watch this one, and it makes me feel like there's an invasion of my privacy. It's clever enough. I give it a 3 out of 5. It worked into the deeper meaning, so they got extra points for that.
Better.
As for the episode, all up, Free Family Portrait Studio could and should have meant so much more. Remember, at this point in the series, the end was not in sight. They were not setting up the end game for The Office. They were simply operating business as usual. And in my mind, out of all of the finales, except maybe Hot Girl, which isn't really a finale, FFPS is the weakest of all of them. Mainly due, I think, to just my expectations of what a good finale of The Office should be. But BJ was clearly working out some shit, so I get it. Still a good episode of television, but for me, it's a 1 out of 5 on the Office scale.
This is the worst thing I have ever seen.
Man, I gave the last episode a 4 out of 5. This one's a 1 out of 5. Sad to say goodbye to Robert California, by the way. But admittedly, they stopped using him in a very clever way in the second half of the season.
I almost didn't come in today.
And it is good to see Andy restored, but you already know. Like, this is what bothers me about this episode, is that in the last episode, we feel good about what Andy did. And then as to purposefully just pissing our Cheerios, just bad. Like, everything's bad now. But that's just what I think about this one. Leave your thoughts in the comments, what you disagree with, what you agree with. Love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe, check out the Patreon, all of that stuff. Definitely helps me, helps the editor. Join me next time. We're going to be talking about Season 8, all of Season 8, which is, I'm excited. It's going to be good. Hope you're looking forward to it. Much brighter version of The Office ahead from here. If not for the story, then for the cinematography, which is significantly brighter, just like me today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.